welcome back to the channel. We are doing our last cycle of the year. I can't believe it, 2022. It was quite a year for us in starting this channel and experiencing our freeze dryer and all the things that we have done so far. And we really appreciate those of you that have checked out our videos, and of course those that have subscribed. You are making it super fun to share all the things that we're doing and the experiences, and maybe you're taking things away from it and learning and doing things yourself, and that could be the coolest thing that we have to share with you. But today we are going to be doing some possibly very messy things in the freeze dryer, so I wanted to save them for the very end before we start off the year with a nice cleaning and maintenance over the freeze dryer. It's been quite a while since we originally set it up that we have had to do any cleaning on it. We have checked maintenance but haven't had to do anything, and this is going to be possibly messy, but if it's not, that is perfectly fine. It is due for its checks as it is, so we will not waste any more time. We'll move over to the freeze dryer to get it cooled down and bring down our food so I can show you what it looks like before it goes in for the last cycle of the year. All 4 trays are ready to be shown. We'll start with this one back here. It is organic wild blueberries. Now, we have done blueberries before, but they have just been organic store-bought ones. We did not pick these, unfortunately. We did buy these from the store, but wild blueberries, they're just so different than a regular blueberry that you get from, you know, the store. They pack so much flavor and such amazing, like, blue color. I mean, they'll definitely stain everything that you touch with them, but they're delicious, and I thought that they would be fantastic for inclusions in recipes. As we did before, I used them for some bagel making, and they were good, but just not that punch of flavor that I was looking for. So I'm hoping to try this in bagels again, or some other bread items, or additional just baking for muffins or whatever. Our second tray here is Moroccan stew, a very, very heavy tray of Moroccan stew. Now, I don't have the expertise of this dish. A family friend was nice enough to bring it over before we went out for a night of fun, and we had some left over, and I thought what better way to try it out, because there are lentils and other beans and a variety of spices. It was delicious and not something that was on our regular menu, so this is perfect, and I cannot wait to retry it all over again after we reconstitute it from the freeze dryer. Our top tray here are a little bit of things we've done and not. So we have 2 organic lemons sliced up, and the other ones were just so good. I use them in tea constantly. It was a fantastic use of them. Occasionally in water, but in hot tea, it was delicious. I fully recommend that, and I just wanted to keep them in their whole form. Obviously, if I want to, I could crush 1 or 2 of them down to use in recipes or whatnot. And shared on that are some organic green onions. It was about a half bunch of them that we had left over, and I realized that we had not done them yet, so let's always try something new. And our last tray that I'm super excited about, of course, are the homemade marshmallows that we made the other day. They turned out so well, and obviously this is the tray that could be a giant mess in there because of the sugar that's in them. They could poof up a lot and obviously cause some havoc between the tray layers, so we'll see. I've seen people do marshmallows and they've had good outcomes. I left them in a little bit of the standard size that I'd cut them. I could have done them smaller, but this size just works so well for hot chocolate, and that's pretty much all we've used them for besides just eating them straight. But they're delicious, and the recipe was very easy to follow. It has organic bovine gelatin in it, and I definitely recommend trying to use a more natural base of gelatin when making a marshmallow. It changes the dynamic flavor profile of it so much. It's still so good, not so much comparable to a store-bought marshmallow because it's not made with fake things. So I am really looking forward to seeing how this turns out, and hopefully not too big of a mess. But we'll get all this in to the freeze dryer and start our cycle. Our cycle has officially started, and I'm super excited to see how this turns out. Obviously, we'll be checking back tomorrow. Hopefully that's when it is and that's when it's done, but I was able to start the cycle a little bit earlier than the past few videos and opportunities that I had. So here's hoping that that works out best. But the marshmallows, as I continue to say, could be a huge disaster or a wonderful lucky surprise that we have. If they poof up a little too much in the future, if we get to do this again, I will more than likely be making them into smaller pieces, because the more they poof up, the more space it takes in a container. And speaking of containers, I want to thank our family and friends that have so generously been donating and giving us their glass jars with the wax or rubber seal inside of them. It has been so helpful, and we are so appreciative of the things that you're saving and giving to us for our sustainable adventures. While we do use the Mylar for our long-term storage, when it comes to trying out the things that we're doing for the time being, till we get an idea of things that we want to try to do for long-term storage, these glass jars have been incredible. I also did get a thing to try from Amazon, but they are mason tops, and if you're looking for something like this, I'll try to link it in our description. But they are a plastic top with a rubber gasket seal, and there are 4 in here. I've not got to try them for anything, but they look pretty durable. They had good reviews, so this is something that we can also use for our mason jars. That I think this size is for a regular mouth size, and instead of using metal all the time, which is fine, but if we are doing any canning or getting into that, we can use these instead for our freeze drying adventures. So we will check back to see how all of this goes, and I cannot wait to show you how it all turns out. 21 hours later, we are back downstairs checking on the freeze dryer, and it's signaling that it's done, but we won't be that naive to think that it is. We'll do all of our appropriate checks and make sure that everything is 100% moisture free before we get into packaging. Our marshmallows look nice and poofy, but not too poofy, just poofy enough. But we will want to make sure that those are nice, dense, and hard before we go in for packaging to use them for hot cocoa and baking and all those yummy things. Our stew looks like it's shrank up a little bit, so that's good. That will be going in for long-term storage. I'm sure I'll mention that again as we go in for, you know, checking it and packaging it. But everything else will be going into our jars that we have here. But we'll move over to the freeze dryer to release that pressure and get our food out. We'll release the pressure first. We won't push any buttons on the screen yet, of course, to make sure that everything is done. But now we can open our door since our pressure is actually released and start checking our items. It's really cold in there, so we're going to get our gloves out. First tray right off the bat, the marshmallows. They feel nice and hard, and this is pretty cool. So we will set that out. Our Moroccan stew here looks pretty good, and the freeze dryer is so cold right now, it is hard to tell if it's cold because of that or because there's moisture left in it. So I'm going to bring them up and out here just for a moment while they, I guess, not come up to room temp, but defrost down a little bit. Our lemons and our green onions look good. These lemons actually kind of turned a little bit of a darker color, so that did not happen last time, so that's an interesting update. Our blueberries, beautiful. So everything feels good, but we're going to let them sit out while these trays kind of warm up a teensy bit just to verify, but I'm going to go ahead and shut the door. Now that I've taken a closer look at everything, things do feel really good. When it comes to the stew, I did not put parchment down. I don't know what I was thinking, because that's going to be a little bit challenging to get off, but I do have a couple spatulas down here, and I probably won't be able to tell until we're getting into it and packaging it up. So the freeze dryer will remain on for the time being, and everything else feels very light, crisp, not cold since it sat out just for a little bit. The marshmallows they sound like little toys, so that is really good. And the blueberries feel nice and crisp. I don't feel anything that's cold. I do feel stickiness, but like I said, since they are wild blueberry, they have just so much more sweetness and you know, power of punch of flavor. So these all feel really good. So we'll do a little close-up look of each tray as we start to package everything up, and I'll go ahead and put the other ones away until we are packaging that item. So these are the beautiful blueberries. Like I said, they feel great. If I come across anything, I'll of course report that, but everything just feels good. They definitely did shrink up a little bit. They were already pretty small, but this is great, and we're going to go ahead and just put them into our glass jars. They taste even better. Wanting to use our new mason jar lids, I got out one of the jars to test this out, and we'll go ahead and package these up. Some of them really stick to the tray, unfortunately, so I'm trying not to crush them, but there might be one or two that just might pull it. And I'd say that's a perfect fit for our blueberries. Hand's got a little stained. We have our new jar topper on with our blueberries. Our next tray, the lemons and green onions, they just look beautiful. So we'll get these packaged up, and maybe we'll try a onion, see how it goes. We'll go ahead and try an onion. That's really good. And it has a whole array of flavor. At first it almost tasted sweet, like an onion jam, and then it kind of went into a little bit bitter, but not like terribly bitter. But that's pretty interesting. I would never consider a green onion sweet, in my opinion. I always just have like that lighter onion flavor, so that is pretty interesting. And got our onions packaged up here. They are just so beautiful. When you get to see all those crisp layers in there, it's just really pretty. So that is delicious and will be a great addition as a topper to our meals. We'll move on to the lemons now. So these lemons are just beautiful. They were such a great addition to hot tea that I was doing for a while, and of course just trying new things, but these would be great crushed up in recipes, just for that added lemon flavor if you don't have any on hand or are looking for something to kind of crisp up a bit. But I left the skin on and just did them whole sliced. They are a little sticky, but you know, that's all that juice and sweetness in there. I've tried them before, so I'm not going to do it again, but we are able to use one of our new lids again. And if I didn't show that before, there is a rubber gasket that removes around this edge in here and can be cleaned and put back in. So this is working out well so far. Seal up our lemons. So shiny and pretty. would make beautiful holiday garland. Here are the marshmallows again. They just look like little clouds. They're so beautiful, and they just pooped up a little bit, like I said, so not too much, but they are just like little rocks almost. So we'll of course do a little sampling and just try to break off a side piece instead of eating a whole one, but we'll get these packaged up. No matter the situation, I think we are going to have to put them in multiple containers because of the size. They're not going to have any flex, and they're not going to shrink down. So I'll look and see what else I have, but we have our wide mouth here, so our white lids will not work for this particular packaging. But so here's a little edge that I'll break off to give it a taste and see how it is. So good. It reminds me of when I was younger, my mom made wedding cakes, and she would make those beautiful designs with you know, buttercream frosting and let it sit out to dry, and you would put them on parchment or wax paper, I think, and then, you know, you could peel them off and then you would place them on the side of the cake. It tastes exactly like that. It tastes delicious, and like I said, we might have to craft off another one here. These are homemade, and they are very good before. They have a nice strong vanilla flavor, a really good crunch. It's perfect. I know that we will do this again. So based on how they fit into our jars, we might just do them in smaller amounts, and that can be more fun for Belson, for, you know, drinking in cocoa. And of course for packaging, makes it easier when they're smaller, they fit better. So these are a winner for sure. Okay, I think that's about all we can fit in for this jar. And I got 2 other containers out, so we don't have anything quite that big. Pretty perfect. Here are our marshmallows. I am so pleased with how they turned out, and I know that we'll be able to eliminate some of these jars pretty quickly. That will not be a problem. So now we can move on to our last tray and see if our stew is done. Our Moroccan stew, as I said, it looks like it's done, it feels like it's done, and since it unfortunately does not have parchment under it, we have a little bit of stick situation. So as I said, I brought down those spatulas for us to get this off, and we will really see if it is nice and dry. We're just going to dig right on in to see how we're doing. It seems very powdery, going right for the center. And it seems like it's a nice crumbly consistency. That's what we want. And you can see all those good sized garbanzo beans. Everything looks great. So of course we will continue to investigate into those middle sections as we package it up, but it feels really good, which means we can turn off the freeze dryer. And that's the last time we get to do that for the year, but we will get this into a bag. I had originally pulled out a large bag, but since it's breaking up so nicely, we're going to be able to do a smaller one. Like I also said, we're going to be doing this for long-term storage, so an oxygen absorber will be going in with it. And as we've learned our lesson, write on our bag first. Oh, that's way too big of a marker. We have, I think, as much as we can get in here, and nice and full, which is exactly what you want. because you don't want wasted space, and I think we would have definitely had that with the larger bag. But we'll go ahead and put our oxygen absorber in and pull down our impulse sealer to get this sealed up for long-term storage, and then we will also seal up our additional oxygen absorber that we have left over, and then we will have final thoughts on how everything went. We have our impulse sealer set to a 7-8 range, which is the highest on this particular unit. And as usual, I will do a couple seals on it just to make sure it is nice and closed up. That light goes off, and then you can lift up and adjust as needed. Down, light off, and up. 2 nice seals. Looks good. We will now take our additional oxygen absorber and turn this down to a 4 to 5 range, since it's a much thinner product, and get that resealed up. And that is good to go as well. And that completes our packaging and sealing for the year 2022. Like I said, I cannot believe that this was our last cycle for the year, and almost actually a whole year of freeze drying for us. We didn't introduce our channel until I think March possibly, but we were freeze drying before that and kind of, you know, seeing how the system worked, and it's been so fun, and we have just enjoyed sharing with all of you out there. For those that are following along with their own freeze dryer, or if you're just looking for entertainment, I'm sure we brought some fun and interesting moments along the way, but we appreciate all of those that have watched, and of course the people and subscribers. Thank you so much for watching and sticking around to see what we do, and I hope that you choose to continue to stick with us as we introduce things that we'll be doing in 2023. But today I think our cycle was fantastic. Right off the bat, the marshmallows hands down went above and beyond all of my expectations, and like I had mentioned, I think the only thing that could have made them better was them being smaller, so you could just have a quick snack. They're a little bit too big to do that, and I think you possibly could break a tooth with how hard they really are if you were going to, you know, try to bite it like a chip. But I think making them smaller would be great, and I was pretty timid about it. It was the first time I've made marshmallows, and definitely, of course, the first time that we have freeze dried them, so they were, I thought, really good in a fresh state, and I think they turned out even better in a freeze dried state. And I am very happy to have that be such a positive outcome for us. And all of our other items, our Moroccan stew, that looks great, and I'm always thrilled to have things to add to our shelf-stable items on our long-term storage. That's such a great thing, a great feeling to have, and our lemons and blueberries and green onions are going to get used very quickly, and I look forward with those blueberries to do a compare and contrast of what they are like compared to a store-bought fresh blueberry, which are the only ones that we've done before, this being, you know, an organic wild frozen blueberry. They just had so much more flavor, even just trying it right then. So we'll be adding those to some baked goods and doing some comparison experiments. And those green onions are going to be delicious on top of soups and chilies that will be getting us through all of these long cold winter months. But we thank you for sticking around to watch the video. If you are not subscribed yet and you like the content that you saw today, please consider clicking that subscribe button, and you'll be notified when future videos are set to premiere or post. In the meantime, we hope that you had a wonderful holiday season, that you're doing well, and that you have a happy new year. Bye!